A 6-year-old boy in Tokyo rode the subway 2 stops alone this morning, bought a loaf of bread, and carried it home in his own 2 hands. His parents were not being careless, and he is not unusual. And the reason has almost nothing to do with that boy. So why can a Japanese 6-year-old do that, while a 15-year-old in my own house could not boil a pot of rice? My name is Kenji Tanaka. I was born in Nagoya. I came to this country in 1994 with 2 suitcases and a job at a machine shop outside Columbus, Ohio. For 22 years, I taught Japanese on Saturday mornings to other people's children in a rented church basement. I taught them the words, I taught them the writing. And I want to tell you something that shames me a little to say out loud. I raised my own son the American way. And by the time he was 15, he could not cook rice. Could not cook it well. Could not cook it. He stood in my kitchen on a Tuesday night in October, phone in his hand, and asked me what was for dinner. He was taller than me. He had a driver's permit in his wallet. And he was waiting for me to feed him like a bird in a nest. I want to be fair to myself and to you. I did not get there on purpose. Nobody does. It happens one small choice at a time. He is running late, so I make the lunch. He does it wrong, so I redo it. He takes 11 minutes to tie his shoes, and we have 4, so I kneel down and tie them. Every one of those choices was the right choice for that morning. Put 5 years of right mornings end to end, and you get a young man who cannot leave. That is the part nobody warns you about. You are not making him lazy, you are making him unable. Quick word before I go further. The old methods my family uses, there is more of it than fits in any one video. I gathered the whole of it into a book you can buy in our pinned comment below. The book is the long version. If you want it, it is there. I will not mention it again. So there I am in my kitchen, and I am angry, and I have no right to be. Because that same fall, I flew back to Nagoya for my mother's 80th birthday. And my brother's daughter, who was 11, got up from the table without anyone asking her, cleared 6 plates, washed them, dried them, put them away in the right cupboards, and went back to her homework. Nobody thanked her, nobody praised her. Nobody paid her, it was not a good deed, it was Tuesday. I watched her do it and I felt something go cold in my chest. Because I understood that my niece was not a better child than my son. She had simply been handed things, one at a time, starting at 3 years old, that my son had never once been handed. So what did her parents know that I did not? Here is what I got wrong, and I think most people outside Japan get it wrong the same way. We treat independence like a privilege, something a child earns by getting older. You are old enough to stay home now. You are old enough for a knife now. You are old enough for the bus now. We are waiting for readiness. And I will tell you plain, readiness never arrives on its own. Readiness is not something that happens to a child while he sits on the couch. Readiness is the scar tissue that forms after you let him try something and fail at it. Then we make it worse with money. We pay children to help, $10 for the lawn, $5 for the dishes. It feels fair. What it actually teaches is that work for your own family is a service you sell. And if the price is not right, you may decline. In Japan, the 2 things are kept in separate rooms. Chores are called otetsudai. They are never paid. Allowance is called okozukai. It is a fixed amount that arrives every month, whether you helped or not, because handling money is its own skill and it needs its own practice. Nobody buys anybody's help. Now here is the part that turned my thinking upside down, and it took me a year in that Saturday school to see it. Japanese children are not taught to be independent. Not once. There is no lesson about it. There is no word for it that anyone uses at home. What they are taught from the time they can walk is meiwaku o kakenai. Do not become a burden on other people. That is the whole thing. That is the engine underneath every habit I am about to give you. The child ties his own shoes not to be strong and free, but because someone else should not have to kneel down. He carries his own bag because his mother's hands are full. He cleans his own mess because the next person deserves a clean room. Independence is not the goal. It is what falls out of the goal. And that means something important for you. You cannot raise an independent child by focusing on the child. There is a whole industry that will focus on the child for you. There are consultants in this country charging $180 an hour to build your teenager a life skills curriculum. I have read some of them. They are not wrong. They are just aimed at the wrong thing. The Japanese version costs nothing and starts with a mother handing a 4-year-old a 500 yen coin and saying, "Go buy 1 carton of milk. I am waiting here." Now somebody is already typing the objection, so let me answer it honestly, the way I would want it answered. People say this only works because Japan is safe. That is partly true and mostly backwards. Those children are not unsupervised. They are supervised by everyone. There are small neighborhood police posts called Koban on the corners. There are yellow hats and yellow bag covers, so every adult on the street can see a first grader at a glance. Children walk to school in group lines, and the smallest child walks at the front where he can be seen. Shopkeepers know whose kid is whose. The net is invisible, not absent. So when you build this at home, you build the net first. You do not throw a child into deep water. You let him fail small, early, and where you can see him. That is the trick under all 8 of these. Let me give them to you in the order I would use them. The first one is Otsukai, the errand. In Japan, a child's first solo errand is a real event, sometimes marked with a photograph. It has been a television program since 1991, and Netflix put it out here in 2022 under the name Old Enough. Here's the trick. It must be a real errand for something the family actually needs, one item only, and you must not follow him. If you follow him and he sees you, the whole thing is worth nothing, because the lesson is not the milk. The lesson is the 6 minutes he was alone and nothing bad happened. The second is Osuji, cleaning. In Japanese elementary schools, there are no janitors. The children clean the building themselves, about 15 minutes a day, and yes, that includes the toilets. The reason is not to save money. It is that you clean what you use. Here is the trick. Do not assign chores, assign spaces. This room is yours. Set a timer for 15 minutes, and everyone in the house cleans at the same time, including you. Nobody watches anybody work. The third is Jibun no koto wa jibunde. Your own things are your own job. Japanese children carry a hard leather school bag called a rando seru that costs between $300 and $700 and is meant to last all 6 years of elementary school. It is heavy. Here is the trick, and this is the one I broke 100 times. Never carry his bag, not when it is raining, not when he is tired, not when you are standing right there with empty hands. The fourth is Kyushoku Toban, lunch duty. In Japanese schools, the children serve each other lunch in white coats and caps on rotation. Here is the trick for your house. Rotate who serves dinner, and the server eats last. 1 week of that will teach more about consideration than a year of being told to be considerate. The fifth is Otetsudai, unpaid help. I already told you the reason. The trick is the separation. Fixed allowance on the first of the month, no strings. Help around the house, no payment, ever. When he asks why he is not being paid, you say, because you live here. The sixth is Kakibo, the household ledger. It was invented in 1904 by a woman named Hani Motoko, Japan's first female journalist, and Japanese families have kept them ever since. It is a paper notebook, and it must be paper because the writing is the point. 4 columns. Things you need, things you want, things that feed your mind, things you did not see coming. At the end of the month, 1 question written by hand. Did I spend the way I meant to? A Kakibo notebook costs about $6. A composition book from the drugstore works exactly as well. The 7th is gamen, endurance. Not suffering, not silence, just the ability to sit with wanting something. Here's the trick, and it is the simplest thing in this whole video, the 1-week rule. Anything he wants that is not food, he writes on a list, and he may buy it 7 days later if he still wants it. Most of the list dies in 3 days. He learns that a want is a weather system, not a fact. The 8th is shuhari. Follow the form, break the form, leave the form. In Japan, you copy the master exactly, over and over, long past the point where you think you understand it, and only then are you allowed to change anything. Here is the trick. Pick one thing, rice, laundry, whatever, and have him do it the same way 30 times before he is allowed to improve it. 30. Skill is not built by understanding. It is built by repetition until the hands know it without the head. Now let me tell you what this is really about, because it is not rice and it is not laundry. My son Ren is 26 now. It took 3 years and I did most of it badly. But last spring he called me from an apartment in Denver to tell me his water heater had gone out. And he told me about it the way you tell someone a small funny thing that happened, not the way you ask for help. That is all I wanted. That was the whole thing I was after, and I did not have words for it until that phone call. There is a line my mother used in her village outside Nagoya, and I have thought about it more in the last 10 years than anything else she ever said. A parent who does everything for a child is not loving the child. He is loving the feeling of being needed. I did not want to hear that at 40. I hear it now. Every plate I carried for that boy, I carried for me. And the cost is not that he grows up helpless. Most of them muddle through in the end. The cost is the 10 years in the middle, where he is an adult in size and a child in fact, and he knows it, and he is ashamed of it, and neither of you can say so at the dinner table. So, here is what I want you to do tonight. Not 8 things. 1. Pick one job you have been doing for your child that he could do badly on his own, and hand it to him tonight. And then here is the hard half. Do not take it back. Not when he does it wrong. Not when it takes 4 times as long. Not when it is easier to just do it yourself. Because it will always be easier to just do it yourself. And that sentence is the whole trap in 9 words. Tell me in the comments what you handed over and how old they are. I read them. I want to know which ones stuck and which ones blew up in your kitchen, because they will blow up. And that is not failure, that is the tuition. Next time, I am going to tell you what my mother put in my bento box on the first day of 1st grade. One small thing, wrapped separately, that I did not understand for 34 years, until I found the same thing in my niece's box in Nagoya. It is not food. Until then, hand over one thing and keep your hands in your pockets.